Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 113a, top of the page with the words Aval Ise. But if the defendant is in the city, the court does not ostracize him for failing to respond to a summons conveyed through a woman or a neighbor, as we say. Perhaps they did not tell him of the court's summons, as they said to themselves. Since the defendant is in the city, a court agent has already found him and told him. As a result, these unofficial messengers will not deliver the court's summons to the defendant at all. And similarly, we said that the court will ostracize one who does not respond to a summons conveyed through a woman or a neighbor, only in the case where he does not pass by the court's entrance on his way home. But if he does pass by the court's entrance, the court does not ostracize him. This is because it is possible that the unofficial messengers will say to themselves, since he passes by the courthouse, the court has already found him and told him. And furthermore, we said that the court will ostracize one who does not respond to summons only in the case where he comes home on the same day that the woman or neighbor is sent to deliver the court summons. But if he does not come home on the same day, he is not ostracized because it is possible to say that they forgot to notify him. Bava said, with regard to one who had a document of ostracism written about him due to the fact that he did not come to court, we do not tear up the document for him until he actually comes to court. And it is not enough for him to simply commit to appearing. Similarly, if the document of ostracism was written due to the fact that he did not obey the ruling of the court, we do not tear it up for him until he actually obeys the ruling. The Gemara comments, the second statement is not so. Rather, once he has acquiesced and said, I will obey, we immediately tear up the document for him. Rav Chisda said, the court sets a date for an individual to appear in court on the upcoming Monday. And if he does not appear, they set a date for that Thursday. And if he does not appear, they set a date for the following Monday, so that he has a second date and then a third date after the first date. And if he does not appear in court by the third date, then on the next day, we write a document of ostracism. The Gemara relates that Rav Asi happened to come to the house of Rav Kahana. He saw that there was a certain woman whom Rav Kahana had summoned to appear in court in the evening, but she did not appear. And in the morning, Rav Kahana wrote a document of ostracism concerning her. Rav Asi said to him, does the master not hold in accordance with that which Rav Chisda says, that the court set a date for the coming Monday, and then Thursday, and then the following Monday before it issues a document of ostracism? Rav Kahana said to him, that matter applies only with regard to a man, as he is victim of circumstance, and it is not always in the city due to his vocational activities. But in the case of a woman, since she is always in the city, when she does not come to court the first time, she is immediately considered rebellious, and the court may issue a document right away. Continuing the discussion of court dates, Rav Yehuda says the court does not set a date for legal proceedings during the days of Nisan, nor during the days of Tishrei, and also not on the eve of a festival, nor on the eve of Shabbat, because these are busy times. But during Nisan, we may set a court date to take place after Nisan, and likewise, during Tishrei, we may set a court date to take place after Tishrei. By contrast, on the eve of Shabbat, okay, By contrast, wow, it's a big daf. By contrast, on the eve of Shabbat, with his work in preparation for Shabbat, and it is possible that he will forget about the court summons. Rav Nachman says we do not set a court date for participants in the Kala, the gatherings of the Archei Kala, the gatherings for Torah study during Elul and Adar, during the months of the Kala, nor for participants in the public discourses prior to the festival during the period leading up to the festival. The Gemara relates, when people would come before Rav Nachman during the Kala period in order to make legal claims against others, he would say to them, "Did I gather you here for your own needs? No, I gathered you to participate in Torah study." The Gemara adds, "But now that there are scoundrels who do not come to Torah study but rather to avoid trial, we are concerned that they will continue to evade prosecution, and therefore we summon them to court even during these time periods." The Mishnah teaches with regard to one who left a stolen item to his children, if the item was something that may serve as a legal guarantee of a loan, the heirs are obligated to pay the owner. The Gemara states that Rav Yehuda Hanasi would teach this Mishnah to Rabbi Shimon, his son, and explain that it does not refer to only to something that can actually serve as a guarantee for a loan, in other words, land. Rather, it refers even to a cow that he plows with, or a donkey that he drives by directing it from behind, which the heirs are obligated to return because of the honor of their fathers, so that people will not continually point out that the inheritance was stolen and thereby a disgrace to their deceased parent. Rav Kahana raises a dilemma for Rav. If the robber left his heirs a stolen item that is used in relative privacy, such as a bed that he lies on or a table on which he eats, rather than something as conspicuous as a large animal, what is the halakha? Are the heirs obligated to return to his owner? Rav said to him, "Give to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser." Proverbs 9:9, meaning that from the fact that the heirs must return a cow and a donkey, one can infer that they must also return a bed and a table. Mishnah. New Mishnah. One may not exchange larger coins for smaller coins from the trunk of customs collectors, nor from the purse of tax collectors. And one may not take charity from them, as they are assumed to have obtained their funds illegally. But one may take money from the collector's house or from money he has with him in the market that he did not take from his collection trunk or purse. Gemara. It was taught in a Braita with regard to the prohibition against exchanging money from the trunk of customs collector, but one may give the customs collector a dinar as payment for a debt that amounts to less than a dinar, and when the collector gives him change, he may accept it. It was taught in the Mishnah that one may not exchange money from the trunks of customs collectors, which are assumed to include stolen funds. The Gemara questions this ruling. Doesn't Shmuel say that the law of the kingdom is the law? Dina de Malchus Dina. In other words, Halakha requires Jews to obey the laws of the state in which they live. Accordingly, customs are collected legally, and it should be permitted to make use of the funds. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Chanina bar Kahana said, that Shmuel says, the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed by the governor on the amount he may collect, and he collects as he pleases. Alternatively, the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai said the Mishnah is discussing a customs collector who stands on his own. In other words, he was not appointed by the government, but on his own. He forces people to give him money. The Gemara notes there are those who teach the statements of Rabbi Chanina bar Kahana and the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai with regard to this. Following Mishnah, Kalayim 9:2, and its attendant discussion. The customs collectors would not levy a duty for the garments one was wearing. In light of this, the Mishnah teaches a person may not wear a garment made of diverse kinds, a combination of wool and linen, even if he wears it on top of 10 garments in order to avoid paying customs. It was noted that this Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, as it is taught in the Braita. It is prohibited to avoid paying customs by wearing a garment of diverse kinds. Rabbi Shimon says, in the name of Rabbi Akiva, it is permitted to avoid paying customs in this matter. The Gemara comments, granted, with regard to the prohibition of diverse kinds, they disagree about this. One sage, Rabbi Akiva, holds that an unintentional act is permitted. In this case, the prohibition is to benefit from wearing the garment, and that is not his intent, as his intention is merely to avoid paying the customs duties. Therefore, is permitted. And one sage, the Tana in the Braita, holds that an unintentional act is prohibited. But is it ever permitted to avoid customs? Doesn't Shmuel say the law of the kingdom is the law? The answer to this question, Rabbi Chanina Bar Kahana said, Shmuel says, the dispute in the Braita is with regard to a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed on the amount that he may collect. Alternatively, sages of the school of Yanai said, the dispute is with regard to a customs collector who stands on his own. He's self-appointed. The Gemara notes, and there are those who teach the statements of Rabbi Chanina Bar Kahana and the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai with regard to this Mishnah, Nedarim 27b. One may vow before murderers, plunderers, and customs collectors in order to reinforce the claim that a certain item that is being commandeered is truma, or that it belongs to the king's house, and thereby avoid its seizure, despite the fact that it is not truma, or that it does not belong to the king's house. It was asked, can it be that it is permitted to pronounce such a vow before customs collectors? But doesn't Shmuel say the law of the kingdom is the law? It should therefore be prohibited to state such a vow before the customs collectors. Rabbi Chanina Bar Kahana said that Shmuel says the Mishnah in Nedarim issues its ruling with regard to a customs collector who does not have a limitation placed on the amount that he may collect. Alternatively, the sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai say the Mishnah issues its ruling with regard to a customs collector who stands on his own. Rabbi Ashi said the Mishnah issues its ruling with regard to a Gentile customs collector, whom one may deceive. Not my words. Maybe it's not the words of the whole. As is taught at Braita, in the case of a Jew and a Gentile who approach the court for judgment in a legal dispute, if you can vindicate the Jew under Jewish law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is our law. If he can be vindicated under Gentile law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is your law. And if it is not possible to vindicate him under either system of law, one approaches the case circuitously, seeking justification to vindicate the Jew. This is the statement of Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva disagrees and says one does not approach the case circuitously in order to vindicate the Jew due to the sanctification of God's name, as God's name will be desecrated if the Jewish judge employs dishonest means. The Gemara infers from the Braisa, and even according to Rabbi Akiva, the reason that the court does not employ trickery in order to vindicate the Jew is only because there is a consideration of the sanctification of God's name. Consequently, if there is no consideration of the sanctification of God's name, the court does approach the case circuitously. Apparently, it is, I'm just reading it, not necessarily reflecting my own opinion. Disclaimer. Apparently, it is permitted to deceive a Gentile. Not my words. The Gemara challenges this assertion, but is robbery from a Gentile permitted? Isn't it taught in Braita? Rabbi Shimon said that Rabbi Akiva taught this matter when he came from Zephyrim. From where is it derived that it is prohibited to rob a Gentile? It is from the fact that the verse states with regard to a Jew who has been sold as a slave to a Gentile. After he is sold, he may be redeemed. Leviticus 25:48.